Excited to have back here on the program Kelvin Sampson. How are you, Coach?
Rich Eisen, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm better for talking to you, sir. Congrats on the Sweet 16 berth, sir. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Proud of this group of kids. Couldn't be more thrilled for them.
Well, certainly, again, it's been a long time for the school, but these kids, it doesn't really, obviously, I'm sure it's difficult for these kids to even comprehend all that because none of them were alive when all of that stuff happened. How do you keep these kids on an even keel, Coach?
I think it starts with our routine. We don't change. You know, our first game of the year was way back in early November against Alabama A&M. Our assistant coaches do a great job of our preps, scouts. Every game we've had, everything we do is a routine. They know what to expect when they walk in the gym 2 days before, the day before, the day of. They know what they're going to get from me every day. They know the standards that we set on a daily basis, and that has not changed since our first game of the season. So I think by having a routine not changing, now the world around them changes. People talk to them different, tell them things different, but we're always one of the things all coaches have to do now is coach against social media. Make sure they stay off of it as far as hitting that send button, keeping them humble. You're coaching that. The more successful you become, the more that stuff comes into play.
Yeah. How do you coach against social media? I mean, when you say you keep them off it, do you ban it? Like
in terms of them being bombastic, giving other teams bulletin board material, responding to things they shouldn't respond to. You can't stop social media, but you can keep them from embarrassing the program, and that's usually what your responsibility is.
So do you have your comments about putting some sort of money from a huge pot of gold that the NCAA bathes in with this tournament, putting some aside for parents or family members to attend these games on the road because they can't afford it? Do you have members of Houston Cougar families sleeping on floors right now to come watch these kids play over the last weekend or expected to for Thursday?
No, I do not have anybody sleeping on floors, but I've had mothers that have asked me if they can get to the game. Would it be all right if they slept on their son's floor because they can't afford a hotel room? That's reality. I think, the NCAA tournament is such a phenomenon in our country. And I'm not talking about the regular season or conference tournaments, but, most of the kids will be there for one game and they'll be eliminated. A lot of these schools, we certainly could have been eliminated after one game. But for that one moment, we talk about one shining moment, and we build up this tournament, and they get there, and these parents, all of a sudden, a lot of these kids come from one-parent families. A lot of them only have a mother. And this particular mother, she just touched my heart. That really touched my heart when she asked me that question. And I don't remember how it came up in the press conference that we had in Tulsa, but I just wish the NCAA's come a long way. We actually have a stipend that we give each kid called a cost of attendance check. I think it's around anywhere from $300 to $500, depending on the school, and that's great. That's tremendous that the NCAA did that. So if we can do that, I don't know why we couldn't for one time only, just for the NCAA tournament. I'm not talking about any other time of the year because this is such a cool event, and not just. Guys, the ladies too. When you get to the tournament, be able to fly your mom or dad, brother and sister in for that game, just so they can experience it with you. There's nothing worse than having to be in a moment like that, create some magic for yourself and your team, and have to call your parent and tell them about it. Did you watch it on TV? Mom, did you see me today? When maybe they could have been there if we could have helped them.
Kelvin Sampson, Houston head coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. I guess there's always the unintended consequence too as to who would constitute. I'm trying to work this thing out because you're right. I mean, this is as you point out, heartbreaking, heart wrenching, et cetera. The Pandora's box, if you will, is who would constitute a family member. How do you make sure that the money is actually used towards something and all that? The actual
family members are mother, father, brother, or sister. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I guess, or if a legal guardian or something like that. So, so what can you? Obviously, I don't want to name any names. What did you tell the mom? I mean, how do you break the news to mom that she may not actually pull out a couch or get a cot or sleep on the floor?
No, I mean, there's obviously rules against extra benefits, and that would come under that rule. So we couldn't do it. And that's the only reason. I didn't mean to open Pandora's box. It was more of an emotional reaction.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're a human being. You're only talking about human emotions right here, and you know what these.
And then obviously your thought process goes to. I think I saw where the television contract for the tournament was $900 million, if I'm not mistaken, close to $1 billion. And I just think about all the money that's going to be made off this tournament, and the primary entity in this whole thing is the players. I said, that's what it's for. This isn't for coaches. It's for the players. They're the one that's playing and creating memories, experiences that'll last a lifetime. And the people you want to share those experiences with is your mother, is your father. You want them sitting in the stands being proud of. And some people just don't understand what some people have or don't have. Your definition of poor may be different than somebody else's definition. So you can't generalize or put disadvantaged people in one category and say, well, why can't they do this? You should be able to do this. Well, it just depends. Some people, like you said, unintended consequences. We all have that. But this particular parent has it tough. And this kid survives because of the cost of attendance check. To me, that's the greatest thing ever, is being able to scholarship kids in the month of June for summer school and give them cost of attendance checks 10 months a year. That has been an unbelievable act by the NCAA. But the tournament happens sometimes once a lifetime for these kids. And, you just like to see parents. A lot of parents can afford it, sure, but there's some that can't. And I haven't worked out how to monitor it, how to legislate it. I haven't thought through on that. Somebody a lot smarter than I am can figure that out. But that's just something I think that if we can do cost of attendance checks for kids after all those years of doing nothing, surely we can figure this out.
A few more minutes left with Kelvin Sampson, Houston head coach, and the cost of the money that is being brought in by the tournament was something that was thrown out when Coach Tom Izzo was coaching his kid really hard in the minds of some, a little too hard for somebody who's not being paid to be coached in that manner. I wonder what you thought of the Tom Izzo, Aaron Henry coach and player sequence.
Oh, I think that's one of those deals where if you had seen Tom in practice the day before, that's probably the kid he gives the most tough love to. Usually the kid that you have the best relationship with off the court is the one you coach hardest on the court. And that's why they take it the right way. I didn't see the rest of the game, Rich. I don't know how the rest of the game played out for that particular kid. But there's no doubt in my mind he reacted to that the right way because that's what he expects from Tom. That's Tom's personality. There's some things that there's sentences and words that are taken out of context, and if you'd seen the entire story, you'd understand it. But Tom is passionate. That's why his teams play the way they play. That's why that kid reacted the way he reacted once he went on the court. That if Tom put his arm around him and told him it in a different way, he would say, "Man, what's wrong with Coach? What's wrong with Coach Izzo?" Is he sick? But when he came at him like that, he said, well, that's the coach Izzo I know. He does that every day. So in the confines of that team, I'm sure they were used to it. That's the way Tom coaches, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer.
So who's the kid that in your history of your coaching that you had to coach the toughest in that regard?
Well, there's always one on every team. The one on this team since day one has been our senior point guard, Galen Robinson. Getting kids to understand the difference in playing hard versus competing is not easy. And you don't do it by patting them on the back saying, nice try today, son. Sometimes you have to hold them accountable just for their effort. And there's so many different ways to do it. There's coaches a lot better than I am to do it their way, I'm sure. But, I coach kids hard, but they know what they're getting into. Tom Izzo didn't all of a sudden get like that night. He's been like that his whole career. The camera just happened to catch that one thing. But I'm sure he's done that hundreds and hundreds of times, and those kids understand it, they accept it, and they knew that going in.
So a couple more questions for you here before I let you go. Your celebration post-game against Ohio State, is that the first time you came in with a water gun, or is that a new thing for those who might not have?
I think this was a level up, maybe 2 levels up from a water gun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Actually, when I came from the media session, I came down the hall. My son Kellen had made a Target run earlier that day to get some milk for his daughter, my granddaughter, Maisie. And he said, well, if we're in this game tonight, we're going to be prepared because after we play Cincinnati on the road, that clinched the regular season championship for us. So they took the orange Gatorade thing that was full of ice and water and just doused me. I actually thought that was I made sure that wasn't Galen back there getting back at the old coach for coaching him so hard. But going into the after we beat Ohio State, if we win, Kellen said if we win, we're going to be able to get our licks in first. So we went in there with our super soakers blazing. Yes. I was getting my licks in before I got doused.
Fantastic.
That was fun, though.
Hey, look, as a Michigan guy, beating Ohio State is cause for celebration. I'd be honest
Always.
with you. I kind of appreciated that. What challenge? Last one for you here. What challenge does Kentucky present here with Coach Cal and this team?
Watching them on film, you don't see these teams a lot, so you don't know the intricacies or what it is they're trying to get to or which kids they get their identity from. But after watching them for 2 days, just really impressed with Cal's plan for his team. There's some coaches that it's like a no-hit, good-field shortstop. He could hit 280 for 2 years and he'd still be a no-hit, good-field shortstop. Cal gets, I think, a bad rap for being a great recruiter, maybe not as good a coach. But this guy is a really, really good coach. Just watching it, this is as good a coach team as we'll have played all year. Higgins and Hero and Johnson, the 3 perimeter guys, P.J. Washington, Travis Reed, Montgomery, inside, Richards. They know what they're doing. They're good at running Hero in and out of those screens. They're big and strong up front. This is the best team that we have played. No disrespect to any team we've played thus far, but the best team we'll have played this year will be Kentucky.
Coach, appreciate the time. Obviously, busy time of year. Really appreciate it. Great conversation. I hope to have another one real soon.
Okay, Rich. Have a good day, man.
You too. That's Kelvin Sampson, Houston head coach.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.